I'm so happy you found Virago 24/7. If you're loving this podcast, please go to wherever you're listening and rate the show. 5 stars would be very much appreciated. I wouldn't mind a review as well. And also, please share this podcast with your friends. Hi, I am your host, Leonette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. Just give me my space to move. 'Cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want. Hello. Thanks so very much for being here. I went walking today and was going to come back and edit a show for tomorrow, but decided to just record something that was on my heart. And so here I am by myself. I have so many awesome shows coming up that haven't yet recorded, but going to record. And yeah, so excited that you're here with me. And this will be a short one since it's just me, myself, and I. So the other day I was walking with a friend and she had mentioned we were at an event, a little gathering, and sidebar, I have so many awesome friends. And I don't know what I have done to deserve these awesome friends, but I have the biggest cheerleaders in my life. And they're just so excited for me and this podcast. And they'll mention it to people. And when I'm there and they're mentioning it in front of me, I literally can just feel myself get small. I don't know why, but I feel it. And I may not come across that way, but I do. And so my friend was mentioning to some new people that I had just met, oh, she has a podcast and you have to listen to it. Tell them about it, Lena. And boom, all eyes on me. And I guess she noticed that I kind of shrunk and my voice got smaller. And for those that know me, I'm very loud and I do get shy. I don't know about shy, but, reserved. And especially in spaces where I don't know a lot of people, I do just kind of hold back, stand back, observe, take everything in. And so when we were walking, she mentioned that. She's like, why did you do that? She's like, I could just feel you just shrink. And you started talking, quieter. And I looked at her and I'm like, I feel that every time it's happening, I'm fully aware of it. And it goes back to not wanting to brag on myself, not wanting to seem that I'm full of myself. And I don't know where I do know where it comes from. I think growing up, that was a thing that was expected of us, is not to, or maybe just me, I don't know. I don't want to speak for all of my siblings, but for me personally, not to brag on myself. As I got older, I would get compliments, and I have, a few parental figures in my life, and one of them would kind of shoot it down like, oh, she's okay. She's not all that. And so that would kind of dim my light a little bit. And so I learned to basically, when someone would compliment me, especially the way I look, and even talking about this is so hard. It's like, just even saying it out loud, it's like, who does she think she is? Always talking about her looks. But, I'm just letting you know how it was and how people perceive me. They look at me, they look at my outer, and they just complimented my looks. in a good way, in a very like, wow, you're pretty, you're whatever. Gosh, this is so difficult just even saying it out loud. I'm just being brutally honest right now, and extremely vulnerable. My heart is racing just talking about it. But I learned to always say, no, I'm not. It's the go-to thing as women that we should just say, no, and just be like starting to pick things apart about yourself that aren't that great. And so I would do that. And there was one lady, a friend of the family, that looked at me once straight in my eyes and said, stop doing that. Stop putting yourself down. And if someone compliments you, all you have to say is thank you. That's it. You don't have to say anything else. Just say thank you. And I remember taking that in and deciding, okay, I'm going to start saying thank you. Because, she said it makes you look so insecure, and it's not befitting of you when you start tearing yourself apart. In the beginning, it was so hard to say thank you, and that's it. And as I've gotten older, I just say thank you, and it's become a natural thing. And then also my dad didn't always love, what I wore back in high school. And it all goes back to, what are people going to think? If you wear that, people are going to think this about you. If you put this on your car, that sticker to show who you are, people are going to see that. So it's always put in my head, in my brain, by the adults in my life, that people's opinions truly matter. And what other people think is something that we need to live by. I don't know. I don't know why it was brought up. I'll probably never know. So really, those are just two examples of the things that have molded me. It was not all just childhood, and it wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't just a two-time thing. It was done multiple times. So after a while, you start, believing it. And, even when I grew up, left the house and got married and started having kids, it was still a thing that was said to me. I don't even want to get into like the whole thing, but there was the time where, I was with my husband, Philip, and we were starting a life together, and I was happier. Before that, people don't understand. They see me now, but before that, I was a single mom, and I don't want to be like, woe is me. I made decisions, and I became pregnant, and I had a baby, and I was doing what I had to do to survive for me and my child. Even still, it was a dark place for me. It was really, really hard time for me. And so when I was, things were starting to look up for me, and I was so much happier, and just, things were just going my way finally. That was not a good thing. I was told that I had changed. And yeah, of course I have changed, because I am happy. I was sad. Now I'm happy. Yes, there is a change. You're not wrong about that. But then it wasn't seen as a good thing. It was seen as, I've changed. I've become uppity. I've become stuck up, is what I was told, all because I was not living in a studio apartment, sleeping on a couch with my daughter. Instead, I was living in a house with my husband and my daughter and my other children. And I guess that was seen as me. Honestly, I'm not even going to try to put myself in these people's mindset, because that's just another podcast for another time. However, just letting you know, some like to say, leave your childhood issues in your childhood. They did the best that they could, and I agree. However, it followed me into adulthood, and I'm trying to undo all these insecurities that were put into me, into my spirit, into my soul. So when you see me not accepting all the accolades or people loving on me, it's because if family is telling you these things, what are strangers going to say about you? So when strangers, or not even strangers, friends, say these things, I'm always thinking, which is horrible, what's the catch? Like, why are they saying this? So I have to get over that. It's a Leonette problem, not a friend's problem. And I appreciate my friends. You guys are amazing. So I'm really trying to do things differently with my kids, and not saying that we don't have issues, that my kids don't have issues, but me telling them who they're not is not one of them. I remember when my youngest was, I think, in kindergarten, and she was born, sucking her thumb. I think she was like only a few hours or maybe an hour born, and that thumb was in her mouth. So she just recently stopped sucking her thumb because she needed braces, and they put an apparatus in her mouth to force her to stop. So this was maybe a year or so ago. So she's going to be 11 in a few weeks, and so around 9-ish. So for 9 years, she sucked her thumb. And I remember she came home, I believe it was in kindergarten, and this little boy was making fun of her about sucking her thumb. And she's a baby. She's a baby, and she was so upset about it. And in trying to teach my kids that we shouldn't care what people say about us, we need to believe who we are on the inside. And if we believe who we are to be true or not to be true, it's up to us to know who we are. And if someone comes at you with their words and their opinions and their thoughts about you, and you don't feel that in your spirit, they're not true, then keep it moving. Now, I think what happens with us is that when it's a zing, when it's a, oh, like a stab, like, oh, that hurt, it's because partially we're insecure about whatever they said. So in this case, she's a baby sucking her thumb. So it's like, all right, you have two choices. You either believe what they say because you truly believe you're a baby, because you suck your thumb. And if you believe that, then you should stop. Or you can continue sucking your thumb and believe yourself to not be a baby. Then it doesn't matter what he says. So she chose to continue to suck her thumb and not care what he said. And I think I've done a number on her because she's a super confident little girl who doesn't really care a whole lot what people think of her, how she dresses, how she does her hair. She does her hair now. And you know what? The controlling side of me just wants to say, you shouldn't wear your hair like that. Those colors don't match on those clothes. And every now and then, I'm going to be honest, it slips and I say these things. But she just says, well, this is who I am. And this is what my style is. And this is what I'm going to put out into the world. And I don't really care. The people that love me will love it. And the people that don't matter. And I'm like, okay, I'm either doing a good job or creating an animal. I don't know, but I'm trying to do things differently with my kids. I want them to be confident in who they are. And if someone comes to them with anything, they have the power to let that control them or not let them control them. But also, when I was talking to my friend, when she brought that up, she's like, you just need to be proud of yourself and what you're doing. And, it's easier for someone who just loves me and is my friend to be my cheerleader. But I think as for myself, there's insecurities of how I am being perceived. I never want to be perceived as being stuck up or full of myself. When I was younger, I was so painfully shy. And I know I've said this before, and people are so surprised because I'm so outspoken now as an adult and, just outgoing and have things to say, and so shy, so shy when I was younger. And I remember my mom would say, as you get older, it's not going to be cute. They're going to perceive you as being stuck up and, antisocial. And not until college did I come out of my shell because, I went down the journalism route. So there were a lot of, speeches and things that I had to do up in front of the class. And I had to come, I didn't have a choice. I had to come out of my shell. And honestly, that's what did it was college. But also, I think it's mostly not wanting to be perceived that by other women, not necessarily men. And, when I was talking to my friend about this, I know deep down inside why I do it. And I'm trying to come out of that and do differently so that when someone does pay me a compliment or talks about the podcast or whatever else I'm going to do in the future, that I speak with confidence, that I speak with authority, and that I'm not ashamed of being proud of what I'm doing. But it goes back to just women being, competitive with each other. And, they might smile in my face, but then go behind my back like, did you just hear, how she was just going on and on about herself? And even though I say I don't care what people think, and for the most part, it depends on the person. But, of course, we all want to be liked, and we all want to not be talked about. And another interaction that I had with a different friend, I was doing my podcast on love and marriage. And, well, if you heard it, you already know the two women that were on there. But off mic, we were talking with Angelina and Jenna. And Jenna made the comment that, she'll always just downplay her marriage because she doesn't want to hurt people's feelings. If someone's not in the best of marriages, she just keeps, her marriage under wraps and doesn't really boast. And I'm paraphrasing Jenna's words, but she pretty much said something to that effect about me. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, you're right. And she's like, yeah, you need to stop doing that. Like, you should be proud of what you've built. You should be proud of the marriage that that you have. And it goes back to not bragging, not boasting, not putting myself out there and saying, look at me. And it goes back to not making other women feel bad. If they feel like they are lacking in whatever department. I'm not really sure how I've done it, but I've surrounded myself with so many amazing women that are cheerleaders, that they're not jealous of another's success, that they're, truly and genuinely happy for one another. And when I look at the women in my groups, the one thing that they have in common is that they are just like doing their own thing, whether they're working moms, stay-at-home moms, they keep busy with something that they don't even really have the time to sit around and, judge other women or put down other women. I don't run in groups or hang out in groups that we just sit and, gossip about things. Like, we truly just talk about our lives, things that are going on. We give each other advice. We lift each other up. And it's so amazing to feel that. And anybody that comes into, my space that isn't that way, they really stand out. And I just kind of keep them, away, at arm's length. So I think that's what happens when I get into groups where I'm not, I don't know everyone. I kind of keep my space kind of, I keep to myself because it's such a stereotype for women. And maybe it's not even a stereotype. It's what women do is analyze and judge and critique and criticize and all those words that we want to use when we're, looking a woman up and down and trying to figure out who she is. I personally don't do that, but I know there's a ton of women that do that. If I don't want to be around certain people, it's not because of what they do for a living or what they have and I don't. It's none of that. It's more of a personality thing. And I just know who I mesh with and who I don't. And that's pretty much what it is. It's not anything else, but I know there's women that compare and are jealous of what someone else has. And I really don't really have time for that kind of competition. I was reading an article, actually a blog, and it's very short, but it's called My Spreadsheet Brain. There's an article on there that says, why can't women be happy for other women? And so I read through it. It's very quick. It's funny. And there's a quote on there that says, I think that women struggle to celebrate each other because deep down in their psychological wells of misinformation, they somehow believe a lie that the pie is not big enough for everyone. And when I read that, I'm like, that is so true. Like, we think if one woman is succeeding, that there's not enough success for me or for you or for, whoever. And that's not even true. Like, we can be in the same space and all be successful because we're all made differently. And, when I was walking today, I got a phone call from my friend who wants, me to be a part of some things that she's trying to do. And it makes me feel good that she, looks at me as an asset to her life and not someone that she's competing with. Like, I'm going to bring something to her project that she's doing. And I just love those kind of women, the kind of women that cheer each other on, that, when my head is down and not sure of me and my podcast and my projects, that they tell me, hey, listen, lift your head up high, own your shit, own who you are. And that is truly what everyone should be like and what everyone deserves to have in their lives. For me, it seems normal because that's who I surround myself with, are these very confident women. But, just talking to, certain friends and other women, that's not true. There's plenty of women out there that are not cheerleaders, that don't want other women to succeed. You guys are my therapist right now. I feel like I'm just talking, and if anybody has any words of guidance or wisdom, please, Virago247podcast@gmail. That's my email. And please, any words of wisdom, because with this journey that I'm on, I need to stop it. I need to stop making myself small. I need to stop listening to those voices from my early years. I need to stop hesitating around people that I don't really know because of what I think they're going to think about me. I just need to stop. And I'm learning and I'm growing. And just because I have this microphone in front of me doesn't mean that I know everything and have everything together. That's the beauty of this podcast that I've loved so much, is that I wanted to bring real women on to discuss our insecurities, to discuss our challenges in life, to just talk, so that we realize that we're not by ourselves, that we're not doing life alone, that we all have the same feelings. And maybe sometimes we don't have the same things, but we can learn from one another. What your strength is, can help me in my weak points and my weak parts of who I am. And that's the beauty of womanhood and sisterhood and coming together instead of competing. Well, actually, competing is not a bad thing. I talk about my boot camp group all the time, and they're an awesome group of ladies. I love them so much, and a lot of them have been on some of these shows For Virago 24/7, they've been on the shows. And yeah, we're competitive in the gym. We push each other to be better. And I think that's the kind of competition that we have, is that we're pushing to be better. Not really to outdo someone or outshine someone. It's just that we push ourselves when we know that we wouldn't push ourselves if they weren't there, if that makes sense. And so healthy competition is good. It's when you are hoping and wishing that that person does not succeed. That's where I think the competition can backfire on you. So I found another article, and it's basically saying the qualities that as a woman you should have that will help you not compare yourself to other women, to not be jealous of other women. And it's 4 little things. For me, they're huge. The first one is be confident. So being comfortable and confident in your own skin makes you less vulnerable to feeling threatened by other women's success. I found another article that goes along with being confident, and it's 12 things highly confident people don't do. They don't judge or make fun of other people. They don't seek attention for the sake of attention. They don't brag about their accomplishments. The other point is they don't spread negative energy. They don't only talk about themselves. So confident people are genuinely concerned about others, not just themselves. They ask questions, they offer suggestion and advice if they are asked, and they make conversations and relationships a two-way street. They don't overcomplicate things. So I like this one. They don't make mountains out of molehills. Confident people try to act calmly and rationally for the best of all concerned. Sometimes that includes simplifying things so that problems can be solved with a team mentality, not a me versus you mentality. They don't focus on what they don't want. Ooh, this one says if you only focus on what you don't want, you're only going to get more. You're only going to get more of what you don't want. Confident people know that. They look at the bright side and have a grateful heart. They set goals, which I love. I love setting goals. I have to write everything down. They hold up a positive vision of their desire, and they take action and go after it. They don't act full of themselves. They don't break their word. They don't shy away from failure. This one says highly confident people know that there really is no such thing as failure. There are only learning opportunities. And when the failures or learning opportunities come along, they know that they will be better for it. They don't judge themselves negatively. They simply say, thank you for the lesson and move on. I love this because I've learned this with my husband. He has a business, it's a very successful business, and that's what he calls them. He doesn't call them failures. He always calls them learning opportunities. Anybody that's worked with him, for him, around him, they know learning opportunities are like his thing. And that's what I've learned with him, is that with any learning opportunity, you grow every time, every single time. Because if you're paying attention, then you know not to try to make that mistake again. And you just learn from it and move on. He has never been a woe is me kind of guy. He takes it and keeps going, which I've always told him, I was like, if it were me, I would have closed up practice on year 1. So it really works for confident people, and he's very confident. The next one is they don't waste time on things that don't matter. I love this one. It says confident people know what really matters in life. People matter. They prioritize time to spend with loved ones because it's what life is all about. They also don't sweat the small things. They put things into perspective and have an appreciation for everything. Beautiful. And the last one is they don't focus on the negative. So those are 12 things that highly confident people do not do. So the other 3 points on what helps not compare, not compete, not pit yourself against other women is stick to your own journey. So it says, we all face major challenges throughout life. Setting aside time to persevere, overcome, and achieve your goals should leave no room to compare yourself to others. Focus and embrace your own journey. The third one is be your own inspiration. Your own personal success and happiness will not only inspire you, but can help and motivate others. And the last one is support your peers. We must maintain a healthy balance of competition and compassion. As women, we not only need to embrace positive feelings of empowerment and strength, we also need to make the effort to uplift and support one another. And I love this line that they wrote, because let's face it, we have enough shit to deal with as it is. So reading these were confirmation that I'm on the right track, that I'm learning to be confident. I'm sticking to my own journey. I'm trying to be my own inspiration, still working on that. And I love this one. I feel like I don't know if I've mastered it, but I like to say that I mastered it. Like, I love to support other women. I absolutely love it. If you're selling jewelry, makeup, face, facial, anything facial related, I will buy it. Wine, I support all the wine people. I don't know. I love to see women thrive. I love to see all people thriving, but women especially. I don't know where I've gotten this passion from. I just absolutely love to see women do their thing. And it's honestly a genuine feeling. It comes from deep down in my soul. I don't know. God put it there, but I love it when women are succeeding. It brings me joy. And it brings me so much sadness when they're sad and hurting. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. I don't have to force myself to do it. It's a natural thing that's just inside my soul. I know I probably was just rambling on this topic, but it's just so much that I was just thinking. I literally put it together this afternoon. So if it sounds like I'm all over the place, it's because I didn't really prepare. It's just something that was sitting on my spirit about women competing with other women, bashing each other, hating on each other. And it all comes from insecurities from within. That really is the bottom line. Is if there's a woman out there that's just hating, just a hater, I'm sure there's something within her that's just sad, insecure in her own right. Because confident women, people that know that they're doing something in this life, that they're pursuing what God has put them here to do. They don't have time for all that. They don't have time for all the cattiness. They don't have time for the backstabbing. They just don't have time for that. They're trying to make some moves in this world with the time that we have. And those are the women that I just love. And the ones that are not quite there yet, I pray that you get there. I pray that whatever is inside of you, that you work through it. And it always takes you digging deep, 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 deep within you. It sucks. It's hard. But man, once you dig deep and just bring up all that grossness and sadness and fear and frustrations and all the things that are inside you for whatever reason, once that's out, it's such a freeing feeling. And I pray that that happens because you have something to offer this world. You have something to contribute. You were made for a reason. You were put on this earth for a reason. And get out of your own way. There's no reason to put someone down, to put another woman down in order for you yourself to feel good. I'm sure in the moment, it feels okay. Like, yeah, I put her down. That made me feel good, but it doesn't last long. You know it. It doesn't last long. Be the woman that just cheers on other women. I know there's a bunch of cheesy quotes out there that say, how, lift women up, fix their crown, all those things. I love cheesy quotes, but just be all those women in one, wrapped up in one. And I know it's easier said than done, but you don't want to be one of those women that stands out because they're bashing another woman because of your own insecurities. So we're here for you. And surround yourself with amazing women if you are there. And the ones that are not here for you, they will stand out. And be strong. Learn to keep toxicity out and keep kicking ass. I will leave you with this quote. Always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7, and just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.